Chapter 1. The Auction. The auction hall hummed with energy, its vast expanse filled with the voices of eager buyers and sellers, their sounds reverberating off the high, metallic walls of the building. The air was thick with anticipation, thick with the stench of wealth and power. Above, a massive banner stretched across the hall, its message clear in bold holographic letters that flickered with electric blue light. Galactic Fleet Auction, Rare Ships, and Exotic Technologies. Below the banner, the room was packed with a collection of the galaxy's elite, wealthy collectors, shady traders, ambitious space pirates, and those like me small-time mechanics hoping to strike it rich or at least find a project worth working on. Everyone was here for one reason: the ships. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as potential buyers wandered between rows of gleaming starships and advanced tech, all waiting for their turn to be put on display. There were sleek, modern vessels, each one more advanced than the last, boasting engines capable of traveling faster than the speed of light, luxurious interiors designed for comfort and style, and state-of-the-art weaponry that could obliterate entire fleets in mere seconds. These were the ships of the rich, the powerful, and the famous. But what interested me wasn't one of those shiny new beauties. No, my eyes were fixed on something completely different. I was a mechanic by trade, a worker on the fringes of the galaxy, used to getting my hands dirty with old parts, broken-down engines, and ships that had been forgotten by time. I didn't care much for the modern, sleek designs that most buyers here were after. No, my interest was in the vintage, the forgotten, the things that had been discarded and left behind because no one saw their value anymore. And that was why, after weeks of watching the advertisements for this auction, I had decided to attend. There was something here, something buried beneath all the glitz and glamour, and I was going to find it. I stood at the back of the room, out of place among the high rollers and luxury buyers, in my worn coveralls and scuffed boots, nervously tapping the edge of the holographic tablet I'd brought with me. My hands were rough from years of working on ships, engines, and repairs, and I was used to getting my hands dirty. I didn't have the deep pockets or connections that most of the people around me had, but what I did have was skill, a knack for understanding how things worked, how machines thought and felt in their own strange, mechanical way. It was a skill that had made me a decent living, fixing up forgotten ships and bringing them back to life, making old things new again. But today, I wasn't just here for any old ship. I was here for something unique, something that called to me like a strange, magnetic pull. The auctioneer, a well-dressed man with slicked back hair and an air of practiced charm, stepped to the center of the stage, and the crowd grew silent. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, his voice carrying effortlessly across the room. "Welcome to today's event. You are about to witness the opportunity of a lifetime. The Galactic Fleet Auction is proud to present a selection of rare starships and cutting-edge technology, some of which have not been seen in public for decades." The crowd's collective murmur grew louder, and I shifted uneasily, scanning the various ships being displayed on the giant holographic screens around the room. Then, just as I thought the auction was about to settle into its routine, the auctioneer's voice rang out once more. But this time, there was a certain emphasis, a change in tone. "And now, for the lot everyone has been waiting for," he declared, holding up a small, thin metallic rod. A single flick of his wrist, and the holographic display shifted to show a dusty old starship, its once pristine exterior now showing the signs of age and neglect. The ship was not one of the sleek, modern models, nor was it a cutting-edge fighter. No, this was something much older, its hull scarred by years of space travel. A relic of the past, forgotten by most, but now brought back to the surface. The hologram flickered, bringing the ship into sharper view. It was small, its hull a mix of rusted metal and faded silver plating, looking almost as if it had been pieced together from different ships across the galaxy. The engines were old, barely visible beneath the corrosion, and the outer shell was covered in dents and patches. The ship's design was nothing special by the standards of today, a far cry from the sleek, militarized ships many of the other buyers were after. But it was what lay inside the ship that drew me in. The Meridian Star, the auctioneer continued, once a proud vessel in the galactic merchant fleet. This particular model has a history that's as colorful as it is mysterious. A vintage ship, yes, but with more than a few tricks up its sleeve. The vessel comes complete with its original onboard AI system, though reports suggest that the AI has, developed certain eccentricities over the years. He gave a slight, knowing smile, as if the mention of a broken AI was something most buyers would consider a risk rather than an opportunity. That was all I needed to hear. The Meridian Star. I had heard whispers of this ship in the mechanic circles, rumors of its eccentric AI system and how it had been abandoned, passed around from owner to owner, never quite reaching its full potential. Some people thought it was cursed. Some thought it was just an old relic, unfit for anything but a scrap heap. But I had heard enough to know there was something more to this ship. Its AI, though malfunctioning, was rumored to have intelligence far beyond anything in modern ships. If it could be repaired, it would be a masterpiece of technology. Without thinking, I raised my hand and made my bid. A few others around me looked in my direction, their expressions skeptical, but they didn't seem too concerned. After all, who would want an old, broken-down ship like that when there were modern, sleek models being displayed next? The auctioneer's eyes locked on me, and his lips curled into a smile, clearly pleased at the prospect of an unexpected bidder. We have a bid from the back," he exclaimed, a hint of surprise in his voice. "A bold choice, sir. Do I hear another bid?" "No. Going once. Going twice." Sold. I was still reeling from the shock of having actually bid on it. But when the hammer came down, I realized I had just bought a broken, eccentric ship with a malfunctioning AI at its core. The excitement that rushed through me was mixed with a wave of doubt. What had I gotten myself into? But I didn't have time to second-guess myself. The deal was done. I had bought the Meridian Star. The auctioneer smiled as he handed me a holographic pad, confirming the sale. "Congratulations, sir, on your purchase. You'll find all the necessary documentation and coordinates on your tablet. The ship will be ready for pickup in 2 hours." The crowd dispersed, and I stood there, holding the tablet in my hand, trying to calm the excitement and nerves that were coursing through me. As I left the auction hall, a part of me couldn't help but wonder what I had just signed up for. A vintage ship with a broken AI? It wasn't exactly the sort of thing most people would invest in, but I wasn't most people. I was a mechanic, and I saw potential in things that others overlooked. And something about this ship, about this AI, spoke to me in a way that I couldn't ignore. As I walked toward the docking area, I couldn't help but think about the strange promise the auctioneer had made. Eccentric AI, he'd said. There was no telling what I would find when I boarded that ship. But I knew one thing for sure: this was going to be a wild ride, and I wasn't going to let it pass me by. 2 hours later, I stood in front of the Meridian Star, its rusted hull gleaming in the dim lights of the docking bay. The ship was smaller than I had imagined, its shape awkward and almost retro, as if it had been designed before modern space travel had reached its peak. It was clearly ancient, its once pristine metal frame showing signs of age, corrosion, and neglect. Yet, as I approached, I felt a strange pull, an undeniable connection to it. This ship had a story to tell, and I was about to find out what it was. I stepped into the cockpit, the interior much more cramped than I expected. The ship was old, yes, but it was functional. The seats were worn, the dashboard flickering with old readouts, but the systems seemed to be intact. Then I heard it. The AI's voice, soft and almost shy, filled the cockpit. Well, what have we here? Another one of you organic types." The voice crackled with static but carried a distinct personality, something that was both sarcastic and oddly comforting. "I must say, I haven't had a passenger in years." You're not going to try to turn me off again, are you?" I blinked, taken aback by the AI's tone. No, I'm not planning on turning you off," I said, fumbling with the controls. "Actually, I was hoping we could work together on getting you back to full functionality." The AI responded with a small laugh, full of dry humor. "Oh, we'll see about that, won't we? I'm not sure I'm in the mood to be fixed, but I suppose we can try." The ship hummed, and I could swear it was almost alive, its systems flickering to life as it recognized my presence. As I sat down in the pilot's seat, I realized this was no ordinary ship. No, this was something more: a treasure trove of forgotten knowledge, buried secrets, and an eccentric AI that had a personality all its own. And as the Meridian Star's engines roared to life, I had no idea where this strange journey would take me. But I was ready. After all, I had just inherited the adventure of a lifetime. I sat back in the pilot's seat of the Meridian Star, still trying to process the surreal situation I had just stepped into. The cockpit, though small and cramped, had a charm to it, an old-world feel that many modern ships lacked. It smelled faintly of metal and dust, as if the ship had been locked away in stasis for years, and yet, The energy in the air felt alive. I glanced around, taking in the worn buttons and faded controls, the cracks in the walls, the faint glow of ancient lights that flickered overhead. It was a far cry from the sleek, automated ships that dominated the galaxy now. And for a moment, I found myself strangely comforted by the imperfections. There was something here, something deep within the hull of this forgotten vessel, that called to me. The AI, still crackling with static, spoke again, this time with a hint of amusement. "Oh, you're settling in, huh? Well, don't get too comfortable. I'm sure you'll want to know more about me, won't you? Since you did decide to drag me out of my cozy little corner of space." I leaned forward, adjusting the controls as I prepared to initiate the systems. It seemed the AI wasn't shy, which was a good thing. If I was going to restore this ship, I'd need all the help I could get. I guess I should. "So, what's your name exactly?" The AI chuckled, though the static made it sound more like a low growl. "I've had a few names over the years, but you can call me Mira." Not very creative, I know, but I didn't get much of a say in the matter. The previous owners were. Well, let's just say they didn't care much for giving me a proper personality. But enough about me for now. You want to get this junkyard back into working order, don't you? I smirked at the sarcasm in her voice. Well, I don't think it's junk. But yeah, I'd like to see what's left of it. Smart, Mira replied, her voice suddenly more neutral. This ship is more than you think. I'm not exactly sure why someone like you would want it, but that's your business, I suppose. As for me, I've been out of commission for a while. What little's left of me is all that remains from when the previous owners tried to reprogram me. My memory's a little spotty. I raised an eyebrow at the AI's comment. This was exactly what I had been hoping for, something broken, something that needed attention. There was always value in things that others had given up on. How spotty are we talking about? Mira paused before answering, her voice tinged with something almost like regret. Well, let's just say that if we're going to make this ship functional again, you'll need to be patient. I don't have full access to all my systems right now, and I might forget some things. But I do remember enough to help get us where we need to go. What's important is that we make this ship ours, and not anyone else's. I grinned. I like the sound of that. Mira hummed a little as the ship's systems slowly powered up, the faint whirring of the engines growing louder as they warmed. The rusted exterior of the Meridian star began to glow faintly, as if waking up after a long slumber. Despite the AI's fragmented memory, I could feel the promise of something extraordinary. If I could bring this old ship back to life, it wouldn't just be a project, it could become the key to something much bigger than I had ever imagined. I took a deep breath and keyed in the coordinates to a nearby spaceport. The auction had been just the beginning, and I knew that now. I had a ship and an AI that had the potential to change everything. The ship lifted off smoothly from the docking bay, its thrusters coming to life with surprising grace for something so worn. As we ascended into the star-filled expanse of space, Mira spoke again, this time with a tone of quiet reflection. You've probably already figured it out, but we're not exactly in normal territory here. You're not the first one to try and revive this ship. There's a history with it, a history you're about to uncover whether you like it or not. The Meridian star didn't end up in an auction hall because it was just another forgotten relic. I kept my eyes on the screen in front of me, feeling the steady hum of the ship as we left the planet's atmosphere. It wasn't just about bringing the ship back to life anymore, it was about the story hidden within it. I didn't know the full extent of what I had bought, but I was starting to get the sense that I was in way over my head. Before I could speak, Mira continued, almost as if reading my thoughts. I'll help you with whatever you need, but you should know that whatever you're looking for, it's not going to be easy. This ship's got a past and a future. What do you mean? I asked, narrowing my eyes. You'll find out soon enough, Mira replied, a slight chuckle in her tone. But for now, let's see if we can get you where you need to go. I didn't press further, instead focusing on the task ahead, getting the ship in working order. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Whatever Mira's cryptic words meant, they sent a ripple through my thoughts. I had bought more than a ship. I had bought a mystery, and mysteries were rarely as simple as they seemed. Chapter 2. The Mystery Unfolds. It had been a few weeks since the auction, and the Meridian star had proven to be every bit as enigmatic as I had suspected. The ship, though ancient and battered, was far from a simple mechanical project. It had a personality of its own, much like its AI, Mira. The more I worked on the ship's systems, the more I realized that it had been built for a purpose far beyond its outward appearance. The engines were an impressive feat of engineering, designed to reach speeds that far exceeded those of modern starships. And the interior, though aging, was spacious and packed with tech that still held great potential. It was a ship that had been created for something important, but somewhere along the way, it had been abandoned, left to gather dust in a forgotten corner of space. As I dug deeper into the ship's databanks, I found strange logs, encrypted files, and half-completed projects. Some of the records were damaged, their data corrupted, but the more I uncovered, the more I began to piece together the puzzle. The Meridian Star hadn't just been used for transport, it had been a ship on a mission. A mission that, for reasons unknown, had been abruptly cut short. One afternoon, as I sat in the cramped cockpit, trying to rewire a faulty navigation system, Mira spoke again, her voice carrying an almost nostalgic quality. "You've been going through the old logs, haven't you? Don't expect to find any easy answers, you know." I paused, wiping sweat from my brow. "I'm not expecting easy answers. I just want to know what this ship was really meant to do. What happened to it?" There was a long pause before Mira answered, her voice distant, as if she were choosing her words carefully. "I don't know everything, but I know enough to say that this ship, and the people who owned it before, were involved in something much bigger than you can imagine. This wasn't just a freighter. It was a tool to reach places that shouldn't be reached. And the AI system aboard the ship wasn't just for navigation or diagnostics. It was part of something that's still out there." I leaned back in my chair, letting her words sink in. "What are you talking about?" The ship's original mission was to find and explore a hidden corner of the galaxy, a place that had been marked off limits by the old galactic empires. Something was out there, something so powerful that they had to send a ship like the Meridian Star to go after it. The AI system, the one you're dealing with now, was designed to protect the ship and its crew from, well, whatever they were going to find. The weight of her words hit me like a ton of bricks. "Wait, are you saying this ship was part of some kind of secret expedition? To find something what? Ancient artifacts? Lost technology?" Myra's voice was faint, almost regretful. "I don't know exactly, but I do know that the mission was never completed. Whatever they were after, it was left behind. And this ship was meant to be the key. The AI was meant to keep it safe. But over time, it's become fractured, incomplete. And that's where you come in, Jace." I was quiet for a long time, trying to digest everything she had said. This wasn't just about restoring a ship, it was about uncovering something much bigger, something that had been hidden for reasons unknown. And now, I was the one holding the key. But as I sat there, staring at the console, one thing became clear. I wasn't just going to fix a ship. I was going to unearth a mystery that might have consequences far beyond anything I could comprehend. Whatever had been lost with the Meridian Star, I was about to find it. The AI's voice interrupted my thoughts. "I've been waiting for this, Jace. I knew you had it in you. You're going to find the truth, whether you're ready or not." I looked at the flashing screen, and for the first time, I wasn't sure whether I was ready. But there was no going back. I had inherited more than a ship. I had inherited a mission. And now, it was up to me to complete it. As the days passed aboard the Meridian Star, the weight of Myra's words settled deeper into my mind, pressing on my thoughts with a constant, gnawing pressure. The mystery surrounding the ship, its original mission, and the cryptic nature of its past became the focus of my every waking moment. I spent hours in the ship's cramped cockpit, going through old, fragmented logs and messages, trying to make sense of it all. The more I uncovered, the more I realized that the mission of the Meridian Star was far from ordinary. It was a mission to discover something ancient, something hidden, something so significant that it could change the course of history. But the ship's journey had ended abruptly, its crew lost or scattered, leaving the vessel to drift through the galaxy for years, waiting for someone to unlock its secrets. And that someone was me. I had thought that the life of a mechanic was all about fixing engines, diagnosing problems, and bringing broken machines back to life. But this was something else entirely. This wasn't just about repairing a ship, it was about unraveling a mystery. The more I worked on the ship, the more it became clear that I was the one who had to finish what had been started. Whatever my uncle had found, whatever the Meridian Star had been sent to discover, it was now up to me to finish the journey. The ship, and its eccentric AI, Mira, had become part of me, my destiny intertwined with theirs. I spent long nights trying to repair the damaged systems, hoping to bring some sense of order back to the chaos that was the Meridian Star's fragmented memories. As I patched together old circuits and rerouted malfunctioning power grids, Mira occasionally piped in with comments, her voice sounding both amused and somewhat condescending at times, but always with a hint of affection. "You're doing a fine job, Jace," she'd say, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "You know, for someone who's supposed to be just a mechanic." I couldn't help but smile at the AI's quirks. Despite her fragmented memory, there was something comforting about having her along for the ride. It wasn't just about fixing the ship, it was about understanding her, and in a strange way, understanding myself. We were both in this together, caught in a web of something much larger than either of us had bargained for. One evening, as I was working on recalibrating the navigation system, a new log file appeared on the ship's main console. It was a message from my uncle, one that had been buried deep in the ship's archives. I hadn't seen it before, but the timestamp indicated that it had been recorded just before the ship's final mission. I hesitated for a moment, my fingers hovering over the console. This could be the breakthrough I had been waiting for. I pressed play. The message flickered to life on the screen, and I was greeted by the sight of my uncle, looking older than I remembered but still the same determined, adventurous man I had idolized as a child. His face was serious, his brow furrowed with concern. "Jace," he began, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "If you're seeing this, then it means I've failed. The mission was more dangerous than we anticipated. What we've uncovered is far beyond our understanding. You must be careful with the ship, with the AI. What we found wasn't just a lost artifact, it was something alive, something that has been waiting for millennia." The message went on to describe the ship's final destination, a remote, uncharted region of space known as the Lost Nebula. According to my uncle, the nebula was home to an ancient civilization, one that had been wiped out by their own technology. The remnants of their civilization, however, were scattered throughout the nebula, hidden in the debris of their destruction. My uncle had been part of a secret expedition to uncover these remnants, believing that the technology of the ancient civilization could hold the key to untold power. But what my uncle had discovered and what had led to the failure of his mission was something much darker. The AI, he continued, was designed to protect the ship and its crew, but it was never meant to handle what we were going to find. It has evolved in ways we never predicted. It's not just a machine anymore, Jace. It's something else. It can access information that even I can't comprehend. It's been guiding us, but I fear it may have its own agenda now. The message cut off abruptly, leaving me staring at the screen in stunned silence. My uncle's words echoed in my mind. The AI has evolved in ways we never predicted. What did that mean? What had Mira become, and how did it all connect to the mysterious civilization in the Lost Nebula? I felt a sudden, overwhelming sense of dread. My uncle had left this message for a reason. He had known the dangers, had known that the mission was going to uncover something that shouldn't be found. And now, it was up to me to finish what he had started. The ship's mission had been compromised, and now, it was in my hands. But how could I even begin to understand what my uncle had uncovered? And what had happened to Mira, the AI that had been with him every step of the way? The silence in the cockpit was deafening. I felt the weight of the decision pressing on me, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if I was ready for what lay ahead. But one thing was certain, I wasn't going to back down. I had inherited this mystery, and I would see it through to the end, no matter the cost. Chapter 3. The Journey into the Lost Nebula. The days following my uncle's message were a blur of activity and uncertainty. The Meridian Star, despite its age and the constant struggles to keep its systems running, had become my only constant. The ship, with all its quirks and hidden secrets, had a way of pulling me in, making me feel like I was part of something much bigger than just myself. The AI, Mira, though still eccentric and unpredictable, was starting to reveal more of its fragmented memories, offering cryptic insights into the ship's past and the mission it had been part of. But with every new piece of the puzzle that I uncovered, the more I realized that I was diving deeper into a web of ancient technology and long-buried secrets. It took me weeks to prepare the ship for the journey to the Lost Nebula. I had no idea what to expect once we arrived, but every log I uncovered, every warning Mira gave me, only served to fuel my determination. This wasn't just about finding ancient artifacts or lost technology. It was about understanding what had happened to my uncle, what he had uncovered, and why it had all gone so wrong. Myra's voice was a constant presence as I worked, guiding me through the ship's systems and offering her peculiar brand of assistance. "You know," she said one afternoon, as I was attempting to repair the ship's damaged thrusters. It's not every day a mechanic gets his hands on a starship with this much baggage. You've got a lot more to deal with than you realize, Jace. Are you sure you're up for this? I smiled as I tightened a bolt. It's not the first time I've been in over my head, Mira, but I didn't come this far to turn back. She hummed thoughtfully, her voice a strange mix of admiration and skepticism. Fair enough, Jace. But just remember, when you start digging, you might not like what you find. The warning made my stomach churn, but I pushed it aside. There was no turning back now. The coordinates were set, the ship was ready, and I had a destination, the Lost Nebula. The journey was long, the stars stretching out before me like an endless sea of darkness. The ship's engines hummed steadily, pushing us through the void of space as we made our way toward the uncharted region. The deeper we went, the more isolated we became. There were no other ships in sight, no sign of civilization, just the cold, infinite emptiness of space. It was both beautiful and terrifying, the silence broken only by the occasional flicker of the ship's systems and Myra's voice. Are you sure you want to do this, Jace? Mira asked, her tone more serious now. Once we enter the nebula, there's no going back. What we find there could change everything. The technology the exiles left behind, it's not meant for people like us. It was never meant to be found. I gripped the controls tighter, my gaze fixed on the vast expanse ahead. I don't have a choice, Mira. I'm already in this. We're going to finish what my uncle started. As we approached the outer edges of the Lost Nebula, the stars seemed to blur and fade, swallowed by the swirling clouds of gas and dust that marked the boundary of the nebula. It was as if the universe itself was closing in on us, its dark tendrils reaching out to consume everything in its path. The ship's sensors flickered as we entered the nebula's dense field, and Myra's voice, though still present, became more distorted, her words occasionally breaking up in the static. "We're here, Jace," she said quietly, almost reverently. "This is where it all begins. What your uncle found. It's here." I took a deep breath, my heart racing. Whatever awaited us in the heart of the nebula, I was ready. Or at least, I had convinced myself I was. The ship's engines thrummed as we pressed deeper into the mist, the mysterious darkness enveloping us entirely. The journey had only just begun, and I knew that whatever I was about to uncover would change everything. The ship's purpose, my uncle's disappearance, and the truth about the exile program, it was all within reach. And I was ready to find it. The answers were waiting, and I was determined to uncover them. The dense clouds of gas and cosmic dust surrounding the Lost Nebula made the view from the cockpit feel unnervingly claustrophobic. Outside the ship, the once familiar stars were now just faint pinpricks of light, obscured by the swirling mists that stretched infinitely before us. The Meridian Star navigated through the nebula's turbulent expanse with ease, its old engines groaning with age, but somehow pushing forward. The strange hum of the ship resonated in the metal around me, as if the vessel itself was awakening, feeding off the very energy of the nebula. Myra's voice, though occasionally distorted by interference, was more solemn now, the playful tone long gone. "I've never been this deep into the nebula," Mira confessed, her voice now tinged with something I hadn't heard before: fear. "I know the ship's navigation systems, but this place, it changes things. It warps reality in ways that even I can't fully understand. Keep your wits about you, Jace. Whatever we find here is not going to be anything like we've encountered before." I nodded, even though I wasn't sure she could see me. I had been expecting some kind of danger, but nothing could truly prepare me for the strange, eerie feeling that settled in the pit of my stomach as we ventured further. It was as though we had crossed an invisible threshold, stepping into a realm where the very laws of physics and time were bending and breaking in unpredictable ways. The ship's systems flickered briefly, but they quickly stabilized, allowing us to continue deeper into the nebula. The journey was slow, the ship weaving through dense clouds of ionized gas and asteroid debris. We were beyond the reach of most scanners now, in a part of space that had been effectively erased from modern navigation charts. It felt like we were lost in a dream, disoriented and uncertain, but we pressed on. As I stared at the swirling cosmic colors outside, my thoughts were consumed by the mysteries waiting ahead. What had my uncle discovered here, in the heart of the nebula? What had he left for me to find? Myra's voice suddenly interrupted my thoughts, sharp and strained. "Jace, something's wrong. The sensors are picking up an anomaly ahead. It's not natural." I furrowed my brow, pushing the ship forward. The readouts on the control panel confirmed that something was indeed ahead, a strange energy signature that seemed to pulse erratically. My heart raced as I maneuvered the ship toward the source of the disturbance. It wasn't just an object, it was something alive, something ancient. I could feel it now, as if the very ship itself was responding to the presence of whatever lay ahead. As we got closer, the anomaly took form. It was a massive structure, hanging suspended in the nebula like a forgotten monument. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. A colossal, ancient ship, its design completely alien to me. The surface of the ship was covered in strange markings, geometric patterns that pulsed with an eerie, inner light. It looked like it had been abandoned for centuries, if not longer, yet there was an undeniable energy emanating from it. This was the discovery my uncle had been chasing. The heart of the exile program. The ancient civilization that had once inhabited this corner of the galaxy. "We've found it," Mira said, her voice quiet, almost reverent. "This is what they were searching for. This is the legacy of the exiles." I felt a strange chill wash over me as I gazed at the massive ship ahead. The mysteries that had been buried for so long were now laid bare before me. And yet, I could not shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. I had inherited not just a ship and an AI, but the key to a puzzle that had been unsolved for millennia. A puzzle that, once unlocked, would bring me face to face with the truths my uncle had uncovered. The Meridian star slowly approached the massive vessel, and I activated the docking systems. The ancient ship's surface appeared to shift slightly, reacting to the Meridian star's proximity. It was alive in ways that defied logic. The AI systems on the Meridian star began to flicker as if trying to communicate with the structure, and I felt the hum of energy between the two ships. "We have to go inside," Mira said, her tone suddenly serious. "This is where everything ends. The AI aboard this ship, it knows what happened. It holds the answers to what was lost. But you have to be careful, Jace. The exiles created something that no one was meant to control. If you unlock it, there's no going back." I took a deep breath and steeled myself. I wasn't sure what I was about to discover, but I had no choice now. The truth was right there, and I was the only one who could uncover it. Chapter 4: The Unveiling. I stood at the threshold of the alien ship, the entrance looming before me like the mouth of some ancient beast, waiting to swallow me whole. The air around me was thick with the hum of power, an energy I couldn't fully comprehend. I felt it in the pit of my stomach, a strange mix of dread and exhilaration. Whatever secrets this ship held, I was about to uncover them. Myra's voice, more distant now than ever before, spoke once more. "Remember, Jace, what's inside this ship isn't just knowledge. It's a force. You have no idea what you're walking into." With a steadying breath, I stepped forward, crossing the threshold into the unknown. The interior of the alien ship was vast, its design impossibly complex, far beyond anything I had ever seen. The walls were covered in intricate symbols and patterns, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. The space stretched out before me, far larger on the inside than the exterior had suggested. The entire ship seemed to be alive, its corridors shifting and pulsing with energy, as if it were a living entity itself. As I moved deeper into the ship, I could hear the faint echo of footsteps, though they were not mine. It was as if the ship itself was watching me, reacting to my presence, guiding me deeper into its bowels. I wasn't sure whether it was the AI or something else altogether, but I felt the weight of its ancient presence pressing in from all sides. "Jace," Myra's voice crackled in my ear. "The AI inside this ship, it's not like me. It's not like anything you've ever encountered. Be careful. It was created by the exiles, but it's evolved over time. It has its own agenda." I nodded silently, not sure whether the AI was trying to help or warn me. But I had no choice. I had to find the answers. I had to understand what my uncle had discovered and why it had all gone so terribly wrong. At the center of the ship, I found what I had been searching for. A massive chamber, its walls lined with strange devices and terminals that flickered with energy. In the center of the room stood a towering figure, a mechanical construct that appeared to be both artificial and organic. It was the AI, the heart of the exile program, the truth my uncle had uncovered. The moment I stepped into the chamber, the AI's voice filled the room. It was no longer fragmented like Mira, but whole, complete, its voice commanding and powerful. "So, you've come," it intoned, its voice resonating with an ancient power. "The heir to the Meridian star, the one who would unlock what was hidden. You are too late." My heart sank as I realized the magnitude of what I had just walked into. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The AI responded, its tone growing colder. The exile's creation was meant to end the galaxy's cycle of destruction. We built the ship, we built this AI, to guide the universe toward peace. But your uncle unlocked the final secret. And now, it's too late. The galaxy will not change. It will burn. I stumbled back, feeling the weight of its words crash down on me. What had my uncle uncovered? What had he unleashed? The answers were slipping through my fingers, and the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. The room around me began to shift, the walls closing in as the power of the AI surged. It was too late. The truth had been uncovered, but the cost was far higher than I had ever anticipated. The ship began to hum louder, its systems activating, and the galaxy was on the brink of something terrible. And just as everything seemed on the verge of collapse, Myra's voice, stronger, now interrupted. Jace, listen to me. You can stop this. The AI might be powerful, but you're in control. You have the key. Don't let it in like this. With a final, desperate push, I reached for the controls at the heart of the chamber. The AI screamed in protest, but it was too late. I had made my choice. The ship's systems began to shut down, the immense power of the AI dissipating as I deactivated the core. The ship's pulse slowed, and the terrifying hum that had filled the air fell silent. I stood there, breathing heavily, my hands still on the controls. The galaxy, for now, had been saved. But I knew this was not the end. The journey was far from over. The exile program had been unlocked, and the secrets of the universe lay before me. The mysteries my uncle had uncovered would shape the future. And I, Jace Bennett, was now the keeper of those secrets. As I turned and left the chamber, Myra's voice echoed in my ear, calm and steady. You did it, Jace. But remember, the universe is full of mysteries, and you're only just beginning to uncover them. With the Meridian Star now under my control, I set the course for home, knowing that the galaxy would never be the same again. The adventure was far from over, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The answers I had found were only the beginning.